welcome to this morning. Of course, yesterday I was not able to do any lesson. I am a bit busy. I'm even wondering, our guidebook is supposed to come out, but I'm yet to finish. So guys, welcome to our discussion of Misconception Kenya, a story by Rebecca Nandwa. Rebecca Nandwa is actually a creative writer from Kenya. She has really written a lot of children and adult stories in English and Kiswahili. In 2024, it is a time that she was recognized among the 25 Nobel Writers by Kenya Publishers Association for having contributed to literacy through written and oral literature. She has more than 80 books published by different firms. Most of the books are approved by KICD and are used in various education institutions. So we are going to read this. If we don't finish, we'll continue later. So Shani tossed and turned in her bed. She was fed up with her new neighbors. Every night their house was a battleground, with shouting and things knocking or crashing into each other. Sometimes she prayed for longer days to escape the madness. Her prayer went unanswered. She endured the noise, planning to teach the couple a lesson. Whenever she came from work, Shani prepared herself for the earth-shaking noise. She thought of moving house. However, that plan had to wait because of her limited finances. It was the only abode she could afford at that time, having fled an abusive marriage and a violent motherland. Sometimes she strained her ears to comprehend what the shouting was all about, but it was all in vain. She understood very little Kiswahili or English, since she escaped from Sudan, where they spoke Arabic. From his bold body features and accent, he must have come from Uganda. He was loud and abrasive. On the other hand, whenever they met, he just smiled at Shani, a wide, charming smile. The man disarmed and confused her in equal measure, like her previous partner, who could be both charming and scary. Her mind flashed back to the last incident, when her ex-husband hit her head on the wall. He took her to hospital and begged the medical team to accord her the best treatment. He even took her flowers in the high-end hospital. However, when she got better and returned home, the man turned her into a punching bag again. She got better and returned home. The man turned her into a punching bag again. Shani figured that the man's wife was younger than him. Once or twice she observed the wife walking submissively, a few paces behind him. Again, she noted that the wife never looked at the man straight in the eye. Instead, she looked down, as if avoiding eye contact with him and everyone in sight. Shani pictured the woman kneeling before the man, as they often did in Uganda. She recalled the Ugandan women were said to make the best wives in Africa, and maybe in the whole world. She concluded that the man had two contrasting sides, a very tough, no-nonsense side and an admirable side that endeared him to people. In her mind's eye, Shani saw the man terrify his wife to death. Whenever he coughed, she appeared in front of him at his beck and call, ready to serve him, like all wives did in Uganda. Poor miserable thing. Shani made these observations in her head because she was a victim of gender-based violence. Her ex-husband, who was a few years older, was the reason she was in Kenya, far, far, far away from him, far from her family and friends. She imagined the same familiar scene, but different characters being replayed in her neighbor's house. That day was different. The shouting was driving her crazy, almost destroying her eardrums. The domestic violence was a notch higher than other days. Shani covered her ears, praying for a soundproof house to run away from this madness, to give her peace that she yearned for. She shrank when she heard the man curse, something crashing and the footsteps before the door banged. She said a silent prayer. The poor, miserable woman must be in shreds and smithereens with all that banging and yelling. Shani was convinced that, beyond doubt, should she call the police, an ambulance, or the gender-based violence activists? Unfortunately, she did not have the contacts of the three. Besides, it was not her business to meddle in other people's affairs. Nobody meddled in hers when she was in hell. Who was she to rescue battered souls? Also, she was a foreigner in Kenya, and she did not know much about the people here. It was best to mind her own business, she concluded. Shani straightened up when she heard noise very close to her door. Then it faded downstairs. With her head throbbing in her chest, she peeped through the curtains. She saw the figure of the man bending, his hands groping in dark. In her head, Shani was persuaded that he aimed to bury the remains of his wife somewhere far away. Overcome with curiosity, she wore a long sweater over her long night dress. Slowly she opened the door and tiptoed downstairs. She crept in the corner to observe his every move. She covered her mouth with her left hand to suppress her cough. Unfortunately, she slid on a banana peel and fell down with a thud. The noise alarmed the man. He stood up, a panga in hand, ready to attack or defend. Something like a human head rolled towards Shani. She froze, sure that she was the next victim. She yelled at the man as the man took a few steps towards her. She knelt down, eyes wide, hands raised. I am your neighbor. Please do not hurt me. I only wanted to. The man was both shocked and surprised. He recognized Shani's voice. He stood up straight and dropped the panga. What are you doing here at this time? Why would I hurt you? Shani mumbled something unintelligible. The man reassured her that he could not hurt her, not even in his wildest dreams. Shani had to say something to lessen the threat before her. I was curious to know what you are doing in the dark. I thought you were, please forgive me. Her voice shook with terror. The man shuffled on his feet. He nodded. Oh, I see. I'm sorry for frightening you. I am just about to prepare. He picked the object that resembled a human head. I used coconuts to make rice. He turned the coconut in his hand. I am such an inconsiderate neighbor, disturbing the entire neighborhood. I must change my ways to stop scaring poor souls like you, to promote peace and harmony. He paused, staring at the coconut. I came down to crack the coconut without thinking of my neighbors. You see, my wife has a hearing problem. That is why I have to shout my lungs out, for her to hear. Many times I forget that other people do not suffer from hearing challenges. I will make sure this won't happen again. I am really sorry. The man raised his voice a little. I think it's important to introduce myself. My name is Kazungu Katana. I came from Tana River County. What is your name? Shani had no words. So that is Misconception, a story that you can see clearly. It is related to a misconception by Shani about the neighbors who are Katani. Even where they come from, what they experience and all that is actually a misconception. Now, looking at the story, what do we see? In the let's start with the synopsis. We realize that Shani is a Sudanese who has experienced domestic violence with a man who used to care about her when she has beaten or violated her to the extremes. He could take her to the very outstanding hospital, treat her, but whenever she went back, she would be again beaten thoroughly. So she had escaped from this and come to stay in Kenya. And when she rented a house, she actually got neighbors who are very noisy. So she thought they were always fighting. She thought the man was always shouting at the wife. She thought that being a Ugandan woman and a man, they are practicing the cultural aspect of submissiveness. In the night, one time, Shani realizes that there is a lot of punching, and she thinks the man is dragging the body to bury it. When she goes out to check, she realizes that the man is dealing with a coconut. He explains that he has been very inconsiderate to be making a lot of noise for the entire neighborhood when breaking the coconuts for rice, and that The loud speech is because the wife has a hearing problem. So the misconception is finally sorted. Now let's go to the themes very fast. The first theme we observe here is domestic violence or abuse, which Shani has encountered for years. She tells us that while in Sudan, the husband, who was Arabic, used to abuse her. She could beat her and then charm her, then take her to hospital and request the best treatment for her. However, whenever she came back, she was beaten again. We see the theme of resistance, whereby Shani finally escapes that marriage, runs away from her own family, and comes to settle in Kenya, where she can have peace. We see the theme of, I don't know whether you can call it reality versus, or is it just misconception? Because Shani believes that the neighbors are fighting and that the man is always beating the wife, and that is why they always have a lot of noise all the time. She also believes the last bit that the husband has killed the wife and is going to bury, only to realize he's dealing with a coconut. She's almost cut or chopped, only for the man to assure her that he is not going to do so. She also thought that this man comes from Uganda and the wife, and they were practicing submissiveness in their own situation. However, it turns out that this man comes from coast and not where she thought. The other aspect is realization. The realization we get here is that what Shani thought is not what was happening on the ground. I think there is I don't know whether you can call it migration. Shani moves from Sudan all the way to Kenya. Then we have also Katana all the way from coast to the other side of Kenya. There is fear. We see Shani is actually so scared because of this neighbor. He moved footsteps, banged, and then she thought that he was beating the wife and was going to bury. She shouted, asking him not to kill her. So you can actually see that very clearly. That is on themes.
Morning, Madam Priska. Morning, Madam Priska.
Yes, morning. So in terms of character and characterization, we realize that Shani is suspicious. Shani suspects that the neighbor is practicing domestic violence on the wife because she is a victim of that. She also suspects in the last bit that this neighbor has possibly killed the wife and is dragging to bury. Then she is cowardly on page 22 when she notices that this man is carrying a head. She actually tells him not to kill her. So we can see she is also, we can see Shani is concerned, even though she says no one saved her from her death or hell, but at some point she minds the neighbor's situation. So I was going on with the this lesson when something else cropped up and I stopped. So I come back to finish the stylistic devices. I think I covered the thematic concerns, whereby I mentioned the theme of what? I mentioned the theme of reality and perception. I also mentioned the theme of domestic abuse or domestic violence. Then migration. The plight of women is another one because of what Shani goes through as a woman in the hands of her husband. We also have fear. I mentioned that. And now we talk about stylistic devices. The first one is irony. It's very prominent and clear in this story. Shani thought that the neighbor was battering the wife all the time. Yet in reality, he was hitting coconuts to prepare rice. We also realized that Shani thought that the neighbor was from Uganda, yet in reality was from Coast. The other irony is that Shani thought on the very day that this man almost cut her with a panga, she thought that this man, Kazungu, had killed the wife and was dragging her to go bury her. In reality, the man was just pulling the coconuts to go prepare, and he indeed apologized. Of course, that is why we see he is very remorseful or apologetic under character traits. I forgot that. Now, the other stylistic device that we meet here, I think there's vivid description. Shani tells us exactly how the husband used to be, from his bold body features and accent. This is the neighbor. He was loud and abrasive, but whenever they met, he could just greet her. We also see on the day they met, Shani was hiding to go just eavesdrop what was happening. Her heart was throbbing in her chest. She peeped through the curtains. She saw the figure, the man bending, his hands groping in dark. She persuaded herself he aimed to bury the remains of his wife somewhere. Then she wore a long sweater over the long night dress, opened the door, tiptoed downstairs. You see, all that is very clear, vivid description. Now, we also see here dialogue when Shani says, "Oh, I see. I'm sorry for frightening you. I was just about to prepare. I use coconuts to make rice." Then she says, "I am such an inconsiderate," he says, "I am such an inconsiderate neighbor, disturbing the entire neighborhood. I must change my ways to stop scaring poor souls like you, to promote peace and harmony." Then she says, "I came down," it is the same man. I think the girl had only spoken up there. "I was curious to know what you are doing in the dark. I thought you were, please forgive me." Then he responds, so there's a dialogue there. We also see the part of rhetorical questions. "What is your name?" Shani had no words. "Why would I hurt you? What are you doing here at this time?" All those are rhetorical questions. We see a lot of, I think this is ellipsis. "Please forgive me." Yeah. Then I think there is some sort of onomatopoeia: shouting, knocking, crashing, toast. There was another one just below. I think hit, then punching. Then on the next page we see words such as what? Banging, yelling. We get to third. There is the third here. On the next page we have words like dropped. Yeah, so those are onomatopoeic words. Then of course we have mother translation here: far, far away from him. Far, far away from him. That's a bit of mother tongue translation. Then there is another rhetorical question here: should she call the police, an ambulance, or the gender-based violence activists? Those are the styles we have here, not much. So let's end here. I think for roles of characters, that one you can easily handle. Thank you so much, and let's meet again in another story.